4 to Charlotte. I'm assuming they're keeping the pick. Yeah, so as it currently stands, we'll talk about what that means for Charlotte. I do really like the pick. Um, Conkinable was the third player on my board. He's a very good shooter. I think his defensive ability is underrated. I think he's an excellent on-ball passer. Um, I do kind of feel like this is the end of the road for LaMelo Ball. It might not come immediately. It might not even come this season. But Conkinable, no center, LaMelo Ball, they're just really rough defensive ecosystem. Like, are they not going to want to play any defense? I don't know, but Conkinible's good for them because they haven't drafted good field players before. So, yeah, Conkinable, I have nothing against this pick. Um, Now up is the Utah Jazz. Best player available for me is Trey Johnson. That is who we had going in our mock draft to Utah. In our mock draft, we had Ace Bailey go number 4 to the Pelicans in a trade, but we did have the Hornets getting Con Knipple in the draft, so I guess we're still shooting 100%. Yeah, Finn, I mean, I'll let you comment on what you think. Um,
I think I'm glad we have power and I'm able to get the draft back.
Yeah, it's crazy. Both of our power just went off as soon as I started talking about the Hornets. So maybe it's a sign. I mean, we shouldn't talk about the Hornets. Anyway, I mean, regardless though, we do really like the fit for them. I thought Malawatch was also a good fit for them. Here up with Utah, like I said, Trey Johnson's a very good guy to have here. If they want to take Murray Boyles, I'm not ultimately too against that because it looks like Walker Kessler could be on the move. They could take anything. Honestly, they need to take an upside swing, I feel like. So Trey Johnson makes a lot of sense. Ace Bailey makes a ton of sense. I think if there's a team that would really invest in his development and could really like not have to worry about investing in his development, because if you invest in Ace Bailey, you're going to be bad for a year probably because he really needs help as a facilitator ball or as a facilitator too, and as a ball handler. So yeah, Ace Bailey could be on the in play here for Utah. Like I said, Ace Bailey, Trey Johnson, guys like that. Either way, Trey Johnson, who I best player on the board for me and who we mocked. So yeah, I mean Utah. Um, as it currently stands, I would assume Sexton could potentially be on the move for them. Um, John Collins just opted into his contract. It was reported that they were really interested in trading for Jalen Brown. Finn, what do you think about that?
I do not think that they'd be making this pick if they were doing that.
Yeah, they would not be keeping this pick. I agree with you. Um, but as it stands right now, they currently do have that pick. I wouldn't be against trading it for Jalen Brown. It's just there was also a report that the Rockets offered like 5 picks and Jabari Smith Jr. and Fred VanVleet for Jalen Brown, and the Celtics declined it. So I just don't know if you're going to trade for Jalen Brown right now. And Adam Silver's going to the board.
The pick is in. Here's the Mr. Silver. With the fifth pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz select Darius Ace Bailey,
Okay,
Rutgers University.
Dang it,
so
we're
they took
busted.
what?
I said, dang it, we're busted.
We're busting.
We're busted.
What do you mean? Oh,
We'll
oh,
get up
the
here.
mock draft. Okay, yeah, I guess so. We didn't have Ace taking going to Utah, but I do like Ace Bailey going to Utah. I think that's a great fit. I think I said it in the thing. I said Ace Bailey won't to go to Utah, but Utah is a very good place for him to go for his development. We had him even going before Utah could have picked. If he was on the board for Utah, I think we would have picked him going to Utah. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to scheme him open. Will Hardy's a great coach. Um, I think they will really invest in his development. I think this is ultimately the best thing for him with his career. Um, I don't think going to Philadelphia or Charlotte was going to be better for Ace Bailey. Obviously I did have Trey Johnson ranked ahead of Ace and come on Malawatch as well ahead of Ace, but I don't think it's crazy to take Ace here. I had Ace at 7. Um, I did have him a tier lower than those guys, but he is a special shooter for how tall he is. Um, and if you think you can develop that handle, develop the on-ball reads, maybe get him to play some defense, because he is 6'8" still and has plus wingspan, so you would hope he can play some defense. Um, yeah, I can't say that is a bad pick by any means.
I can't either. But I don't think Sheldon's too happy right now.
What?
I don't think Sheldon is too happy right now.
Yeah. Oh, damn. As Finn's implying Sheldon is a Wizards fan, they are currently on the clock. For me here, best player available is Trey Johnson still. In the mock draft, we ended up having them take Derek Queen. Um, in the mock draft, Con Nipple was the best player on the board. Damn, choking on the Gatorade, man. But I would say this is oh gosh. This is shaped up how I would have expected the draft to shape up if Ace wasn't getting traded up for. Um, so yeah, there's a possibility that he also is getting traded from Utah, but I don't think that's what's happening here. Uh, yeah, let's see. Let's see. Shams. Yeah, Shams doesn't report any trades, so it sounds to me like Ace is going to Utah. I think that's great for him. Number 6 here for Washington, outside of Trey Johnson, who I think works for them. He's the best player available. I think that makes sense. Um, I could see you talking me into Jeremiah Fears' upside because they might want to be bad again next season. They aren't guaranteed to get their pick next year. Um, I think he's a good upside swing. You develop him on the ball, that could help them. They also pick at 18, and there's a bunch of guards that could be liked in this draft. Um, so maybe you don't want to take Jeremiah Fears. That being said, that could also apply to Trey Johnson. Derek Queen is the Washington area guy who everybody is mocked to Washington throughout this draft process. That's what we did in the mock draft. That being said, he was probably the best upside guy available at that point in time. So I don't know if if having Trey Johnson on the board changes that for them. They could trade this pick too if they really wanted to. If somebody was making the right calls, I don't know who that team would be right now. I think this is a inflection point in the draft for a lot of teams. Um, Although maybe some teams really like Trey Johnson. Brooklyn has a ton of picks. I would be surprised if Brooklyn doesn't make any other moves on this draft night because they have 5 picks. They have 2 of them. They have 2 pairs of picks in very similar spots in this draft. But I don't think they would give up one of those picks to trade up 2 spots here, even if they do really like Trey Johnson. I don't know though. I don't know how Brooklyn feels about their players. Or I guess they're not their players, but the draft players here.
And we have another team that's at the 0-minute mark.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too rare for teams to take up this whole clock because they're probably receiving calls as we speak. I mean, I would still assume Washington's picking here, rebuilding team. I would assume they're picking. Like it just makes sense to me.
I think they'll be picking too, but they need to pick.
All right, pick is in. Um, yeah, like I said, Trey Johnson in play here, Derek Queen in play here. I wouldn't take Murray Boyles with them unless you really think that they're going to develop his on-ball ability. There's the dog barking. Same thing with Fears. Like I don't not Fears. Malawatch. I'm concerned about the two bigs with him and Sar developing together. Um, yeah, I mean that's about it. Um, of course, the draft's going to a commercial, so whatever. We'll have the pick here in a second. Um, yeah, I don't know what Sheldon wants uh here. I mean, he would tell me Trey Johnson, and I think that's the right thing to say. Um, mm, of of course they go to commercial break.
Hopefully, when they get back and this flashes to Adam Silver on the stage.
Sneezing again. It's crazy. Um, oh,
The Washington Wizards select Trey Johnson from the University of Texas.
I'm kind of surprised at the no trades.
yeah. So far, no trades. I think taking Trey's fine there for Washington, though. I'll try to get Sheldon's opinion on them taking Trey Johnson. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what I would call. Geez, Finn, I don't know where these sniffles are coming from, but I would call Trey Johnson the best player available at this point for them. I think that's good for them. I don't think anything on their roster was worth like really like putting number one option investment into. And I think Trey Johnson gives them somebody who they can at least believe that in. I think Trey Johnson's a great pick here. Um, yeah, very good start to the stuff. Start to the new organizational. Jesus, the sneezing has really thrown me off my game. I have to say. Ah, jeez. Trey Johnson uh goes to Washington. Let me think. Who's available? That's the best player on my board. Come in Malawatch. I think that's how you spell it. Kama Malawatch is the best player available on my board. Um, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about Trey Johnson to Washington. Um, I would assume he leads their team in usage next season. They just traded Jordan Poole yesterday because frankly, like right now, they have very similar games. I think if you're looking for anything to develop with Trey Johnson, it's how frequently can he touch the paint. I think a lot of the reasons he couldn't touch the paint as much in college is because of um, how I think a lot of the reason why Trey Johnson couldn't touch the paint in college is because of the situation that happened in Texas. They didn't really put him into pick and rolls very often. Um, he was a very high usage post up player as a guy who was around like 180 pounds. Just not how I would want to utilize such a skinny player. He's very good. Best shooter in the draft. I said it uh, before the draft even started. I think he's the best draft prospect as a shooter. So Yeah, you get them. Highest drafted players from Texas: LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Durant, Tristan Thompson, Lasele Thompson, Mo Bamba, and Trey Johnson. Now are the top 6 drafted players from Texas. Um, there's a mixed bag of names there. I think if you're Washington, you're obviously hoping for the more Kevin Durant type of option. But yeah, Finn, you got anything to say?
Well, why do that?
Yeah. So as it currently stands, like I said, Malawatch is the best player on my board. Um, Currently, New Orleans picking. How we know they operate. Um, they've the past regime took a lot of wing players. Troy Weaver um, is a decision maker with them who has really liked big men in the past with Detroit before Detroit was any good. Almost to a fault, they took a lot of bigs. Best player for me is Malawatch. He's a big. I think that makes a ton of sense. In the mock draft, we had New Orleans trading up and taking Ace. Um, had that not happened, I would have been perfectly fine probably taking Malawatch. Um, After Malawatch, I think there was a tier break. I think Ace Bailey was in the next tier after. But yeah, I would say you take Malawatch. They took a center last year in Yves Misi. But I don't think Misi's good enough for you to pass on taking Malawatch here. Brooklyn also just has a ton of picks in this draft. So no, not much of a clue what's going to happen here. We'll see though. Um, then what do you think?
It seems like another GM's taking its time.
Yeah, we've gotten all the teams taking the full draft clock. I don't think that's too uh, ridiculous, but a pick is in already. Finn, and you spoke it into existence. Um, oh shoot, I forgot to text Sheldon to ask him what he thinks about Trey. Well, we'll hopefully get that on in between the next couple uh, of picks. Um, yeah, I'm really interested in where New Orleans is going here because there's a clear tier break for me uh, outside of Malawatch, and I think the obvious thing for them to do here is to take Malawatch and just figure out the rest of the roster. They would have loved for Knipple to fall or Ace Bailey to fall, but those things didn't happen. Uh, yeah, new haircut. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, so it was a mistake at first, but it just had to roll with it. And it sounds like it's pouring over where you are. Is it?
It is.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's coming down pretty hard over here. You know, the trees moving around a little bit. Adam Silver's walking to the podium. This is what we like to see.
You need to do that quicker and more often.
25 NBA draft. New Orleans Pelicans select Jeremiah Fears.
Jeremiah Fears. Makes sense. So Fears is not the best player on my board. I had him at 15. I understand him going to New Orleans. I think it makes some sense. Extremely talented as an 18-year-old for Oklahoma this season. Had like unreal volume for a freshman player. And the results were mixed. The jump shot was streaky, but there's indicators saying that it will be better than the 28% he shot in college. I think if there's anything to be concerned about with Fears, it's that he didn't finish at the rim. But that isn't too unusual for a player as athletic as he is and as small as he is. I think the feel for the game can improve a little bit at the next level. I think he will take a couple of years. I think we did consider Fears in this range. It's just New Orleans wasn't in this range, so it didn't really come to my brain. And then yeah, adding some size as well is important for Jeremiah Fears. Um, I think he will shoot in the NBA. I just don't. I don't know if it gets him onto like the league creator level. I don't want this to sound overtly negative, but I think he will be a developmental project, and we'll see how New Orleans handles it. There is a need on the roster. They just traded CJ McCollum. DeJounte Murray will miss the first half of the season. There will be leeway for him to come, and if they are a good team and they're making a playoff push, that's when DeJounte Murray will come back and he'll play a little bit less as the season goes on, potentially, if they are very good. So I think under that aspect, this does make a lot of sense for them because they're going to need early season guard opportunities. Oklahoma first round picks in the last 30 years. I'm assuming that go in the top 7 of the draft. Trey Young, Buddy Hield, Blake Griffin, and now Jeremiah Fears. Finn, what do you think about that group?
I did not know Trey Young was drafted by Oklahoma. I should have.
Yeah, it's recent enough. Yeah, that chain that Fears got on is awesome.
I take it
Uh,
that was a draft and trade.
yeah, for Luca. Um,
Luca?
no, like Oklahoma, the college, not Oklahoma City. Um, yeah, Brooklyn's on the clock now. Brooklyn has a million picks in this draft, Finn. I don't know what Brooklyn's gonna do here. Top player on the board for me is Common Malawach. He was on the board for them in our mock draft. I ended up having them take Essengue, who um, maybe that's just a habit of me really liking Essengue going to Brooklyn because I think they are going to want to be bad next year. So you would want the development piece rather than Malawach, who I think could make you really good defensively next year. Plus, they already have Claxton, who's like probably one of the 2 best players on their team. And I don't think they like where Nick Claxton's trade value is right now. And I don't think you wait a year or 2, then potentially you can flip Claxton for more than what they could currently get for him. So I think that makes a lot of sense if you want to sway away from center and take a guy like Essengue. I think Kasper Siakachonis is also in play here. He ended up falling to the Nets' second pick in our mock draft. I don't think that will happen. I think Murray Boyles, there's some reason to take Murray Boyles here. I did think about who's still also on the board here. Um, I don't. If they want to be risk adverse here, they can take Carter Bryant. I wouldn't take Carter Bryant for them. I would rather a good team or a better team than Brooklyn, who's going to rebuild and make a bunch of other rookie picks to take Carter Bryant. And then like Derek Queen, not unheard of. Jordy Fernandez really comes from a background of really prioritizing playmaking bigs, and Derek Queen has some of the best upside in this draft. And I really like that fit for them. It's just, will they take Derek Queen? I'm not super sure. But I could see Jordy Fernandez really loving Derek Queen. Um, in fact, I think that's maybe who I would have taken here. Derek Queen was not available during our mock draft. That's who I would have taken if he was available. Even over Malawach, even though that is another center. I think there's a possibility that Queen could play the 4 in the NBA. I guess in the instance where he went to Washington in our mock draft, he would be playing the 4 next to Star, and I think that's a very good fit. I don't think you should shy away from taking Queen here if you're Brooklyn. I think Queen or Malawach is the 2 picks that I really like for them here. Although there are some other ones that I like. I don't think you can really go wrong for Brooklyn. Um, Then what would you do if you had 5 picks in the first round? Would you? I don't know. I'm assuming there wasn't any trade up options from 8, but would you want another like lottery pick?
Probably.
Like probably, right? Like it sounds very obvious. Like, yeah, I want another lottery pick. But they have two late ones, 27 and 6, I think, and then they have 19 and 21, I believe, or 19 and 22. Um I would assume they move some assortment of those for a team's pick. Maybe. I don't know. What do I know anymore?
Still shocked that we have not seen any trades.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked. I guess I can go check. I'm assuming um uh, New Orleans is keeping Fears. I don't think they would take Fears to trade him. I think that Fears makes sense for them to take him. Um oh yeah, and like Brooklyn's home. They got home court advantage for the draft, and you think that's helped them in the past? It probably has because
I don't
they
think how home field advantage helps for the freaking draft.
it doesn't. They've already drafted a good bit. They've drafted well, is what I meant to say there. It's just they haven't drafted at the top of the draft, really, because they've traded a bunch of their picks. First with the Pierce and Garnett bullshit, and then the Harden trade. So they just haven't had their picks for a little bit. But yeah, Adam Silver's going to the board.
With the eighth pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Jagor Demon from Moscow.
Wow. My goodness.
Why is?
So they went with Jagor Demon. Anybody who watched the first live stream would know that Jagor Demon wasn't on my top 21. I don't hate Jagor Demon. I see the novelty of Jagor Demon. He is an excellent passer. I think if you really think he can develop Jagor Demon, there's a high ceiling with him. It's just I think the handle's a little far away from being able to tap into the super good playmaking that he has. But he is a legit 6'8", 6'9" point guard. Um, there's a possibility that he's more of a wing, and I think that is pretty safe because I think his shooting will be better than it was in college. I think he shot like 31% from three. He shot looks fine, took a wide variety of shots, had very good confidence in the shot. Um, and he wasn't a bad shooter as a youth player. Um, but yeah, fantastic passer. I think this really it really matters what they do with the rest of the draft if you're Brooklyn. Um, yeah, that's the first surprise for me. I did not see that happen. And Kaman Malawach still remains the top player on my board. Um, as it currently stands, I guess never mind. I was about to say something silly, but yeah, I can't say I hate the pick because Brooklyn is like a blank canvas, and they can handle not being a great team next season with Jagor Demon probably not being NBA ready right away. Um, yeah, it just it still really surprised me with him. As the dog starts barking, yeah, that's crazy. Was not expecting that whatsoever. So as we stand here for Toronto, Common Malawach still the best player on my board. That's actually we had Toronto going with in the mock draft. I think that makes a ton of sense for them. I think I would do that if I were them. It opens up the ability for them to potentially trade Jakob Pearl. They wanted to. They kept him out of Durant trades. Um, but I don't think he should be an untouchable piece. I think there's also a world where they go with like Carter Bryant and try to move off of RJ Barrett. Because I think Carter Bryant is a safe role player. I think Cedric Coward for those same reasons, like could be a guy and play for them. Point guard, not a horrible thing to do to draft another point guard for them. I think drafting Yakachonis here really works for them. You saw that it works putting Yakachonis off the ball and Scotty Barnes can be an on-ball player for them as Finn arrives with the pizza. Yeah. Either way, like I think there's a lot of different ways Toronto can go here. I would lean towards Jakachonic, Malawach, and Carter Bryant, though. Those are the guys who I would take. With obviously an emphasis on the top player on my board here being Common Malawach. Like I said, excellent defensive rim protector. Even though he didn't block a ton of shots at Duke, he's 7'2", excellent length. It looks like he's still learning how to play basketball because he's relatively new to the game. 2 minutes left here for Toronto, Finn. You want to speak on Toronto? What'd you say?
I said, yeah, if you can't tell, I ordered a pizza.
Yeah, Finn had to enjoy the draft.
Definitely the best player available so far. Second best is probably Colin Murray-Boyles.
Yeah, so second best player on my board is Cedric Coward. Common Malawach is number 6 on my board. Or I guess second best would be Noah Essengue, who I don't actually hate for them, but I think for Toronto, who ideally isn't a bad team next year, I think you would want to take Bryant over Essengue because Essengue probably needs a little fine tuning. Carter Bryant can step in right away, be a role player for you. Same thing with Cedric Coward in that instance. Murray Boyles isn't a bad decision for them, but they already have Scotty Bryant, or Scotty Barnes, who is very similar to Colin Murray Boyles. Neither of them are great shooters. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Common Malawach here. There was a report earlier today that they offered this pick for Derek White. That obviously implies that one of Jakob Poeltl or RJ Barrett is also included in that trade offer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Boston would turn that down, honestly. It seems like they are being very bullish on how they feel about Jaylen Brown and Derek White. So I don't know.
2027.
What'd you say, Finn?
I said I'd be focusing on 2027.
Yeah, with Boston, I would focus on 27. I guess the reason against not doing this is because the best player would be Malawach, and they're not going to have a point guard to develop Malawach next season because I think you do need a good facilitating guard for Malawach to develop. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's the best guy. And if you're Boston, you would take him because they need a center. And if they're getting Jakob Poeltl in that trade and not RJ Barrett, then I don't know. There's reason to take Murray Boyles. If you're trading Derek White, there's reason to take a guard like Cedric Coward who can kind of fill in as Derek White, or obviously Carter Bryant. They can fit on a lot of different teams. Yeah, I mean,
Announce the pick, please.
jeez, they're zooming in on Murray Boyles. I think the team that takes him will be very happy to have him.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select Colin Murray Boyles.
Okay.
From the University of South Carolina.
So they take Colin Murray Boyles. I think it makes sense, honestly. A little bit. I would be concerned about the shooting of the team. But yeah, I mean, he's a switchable, scheme versatile defender. Uh, really excellent defensive player. Like I said, um, he can very effectively facilitate the basketball. Um, I'd be a little bit concerned about the shot developing. It doesn't look like it's going to ever be good. Um, but he can really get downhill. He can finish at the rim. I think he finished like 60% of shots at the rim. Uh, I can't say it's a bad pick. I think how we continue to see how Boston fills out their roster, or not Boston, Toronto fill out their roster is what will determine what I think about this pick. But yeah, Murray Boyle's very good. I had him at 12 or 13. It's really need to remember this. I had him at 12. Um, I don't think it's really a reach. I just think for a lot of teams, he could be a hard sell. And if you are sold on him, hey, like maybe, like I said, maybe it's a top 5 guy. Yeah, I mean Finn, he's at your doorstep all fall. What do you think about Murray Boyles?
Good playmaker, decent defensively. I would not want him as one of my top 2 scoring options.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Definitely not right away. I think if his defense and playmaking keeps him on the floor for a long time, maybe he develops into a top scoring option. But I think that requires some development of a jump shot to some extent. It doesn't have to be a great development of a jump shot. He's very good finishing at the rim and very strong finisher as well. He used strength very well. Yeah, Phoenix is now on the clock here. This was originally a part of the Kevin Durant trade. Um, yeah, Colin Murray Boyles is obviously off the board now. Colin Malawach has been the best player available for me for a little bit. If I had to guess why he's falling, I would guess it is his minutes played and conditioning concerns, just generally, or injury related concerns. He's very tall. He's not super like filled out, even though he does weigh a lot. So that could cause some injury concerns. Um, but I think he's the best player available here. I would take him for Phoenix. They have nothing going on at the center position. I think he's the best player available. I think they're Queen again. Like they have nothing going on at the center position. They need to take an upside swing here for Phoenix because they're not going to have a chance like this for a while. Um,
Yeah, they are in the second apron.
they're no longer in the second apron, I'm pretty sure. Or they could easily get out of the second apron. They actually do have to get out of the second apron for the Durant trade to be finalized. But they're just really not a good team, regardless of what this pick is. Yeah, I mean, I think they should take Malawach. Um, we'll ultimately see what they do. Um, what did you think about the Durant trade, Finn?
With textbook, what we said he was worth.
Yeah, obviously Finn wasn't on the basketball podcast, but you know we would always discuss it, and we're like, yeah, Durant's gonna go for salary matching, maybe a rotational player and a first round pick, and that is what Durant went for. Um, he's still a very good player. Um, we haven't got a chance, Sheldon and I, to talk about it, but I think it's a fine trade for both teams. Um, I think if you're Houston, I think in totality, um, it's a terrible situation. But what Durant's trade value has developed into, I guess it's about exactly what I expected. Um, if you would have told me 2 years ago that Durant was going to get traded for this type of a return, I would have been very surprised because of the return that he got traded for 2 years ago. Um, yeah, pick is in for for Houston, or not Houston, Phoenix, it would be very surprising to me if they reach on somebody here. I think they need to take upside. And I think it's so funny how ESPN's putting the Rockets on the, like, we know Houston's team, like, okay, regardless. I know that's how they have to report it, but um
It is kind of funny. Like, it seems everybody on the planet but ESPN knows that this pick has been traded.
yeah, and I don't see the point of putting the Rockets as the team on there if you're gonna say that Durant's on the team. That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh wow. The Charlotte Hornets are trading Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns for the 29th pick tonight and a 2029 first round pick to the Suns.
Who is
So
that guy?
Mark Williams is the center for the Hornets. So they're not taking Malawatch here. So I'm thinking Carter Bryant now. Wow. So this has got to be Carter Bryant, or like, and I doubt they take Cedric Coward just because of how many guards they have. Think about that. I think that's a fine trade for both teams. So the Hornets will now have 2 picks in the first round, and they got an extra pick. All right, picks being announced.
With the 10th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Kaman Malawach from Rubek, South Sudan, the NBA Academy Africa and Senegal, and Duke University.
So they still took Malawatch after trading for Mark Williams? I'm so confused. Yeah, I'm confused on what this process is. Like, I guess I kind of get it because there's injury concerns with Mark Williams, and then Malawatch had to, he didn't play a ton of minutes, but I don't know if that's the best allocation of your assets. I don't know. Because you have to pay Mark Williams right now, and you just drafted a rookie. Like, this really reminds me of the situation where the Hawks they traded for Clint Capella right after they drafted Onyeka Okongwu, unless Malawatch is going somewhere else, which I don't see that being unlikely. Like, another team could definitely like Malawatch enough to trade up for him. This is just confusing to me. Okay, so the first rounder in the pick is the least favorable of Cleveland, Utah, Minnesota, 1 through 5 protected. Yeah, I mean, I very much anticipated Mark Williams being traded, but it wasn't going to be the team that also was drafting Common Malawatch. So this very head scratching to me. Maybe Charlotte has some other plan going on. Because I understand it from their standpoint, because I thought they were going to trade Mark anyway. Maybe they target a center with 29. Maybe they don't. Maybe they target somebody who can play defense because they don't have anybody in their starting lineup who can play defense.
Talking about Portland.
No, Charlotte. Damn, I just didn't expect this trend of events. Murray Boyle's going 9, I guess, kind of threw a wrench in it, but I don't think it was like that crazy. Yeah, Malawatch going 10. Like, I don't hate him going 10 to Phoenix. I just don't understand Mark Williams and Malawatch going together because, like, unless you sign Mark Williams to like this like absolute steal of a contract extension, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. Like, I feel like he's not going to sign an extension this offseason. He's going to test free agency next year. Portland's on the clock. They just made the Drew Holiday trade. I don't know how much I like that deal for them. I think it really just constrains them cap wise. I feel like you could have gotten an actual decent return for Anthony Simons, and I don't know. I guess they couldn't, and that's why they didn't try to do that. For them, I wouldn't take center unless you are anticipating being able to move DeAndre Ayton, and I don't think you will. DeAndre Ayton, not good. He's making a ton of money, so I don't see that happening. Really thinking anything's fine here. Like Noah Essengue would get sent there a ton in mock drafts. I think that's fine. I think Carter Bryant and Cedric Coward, like I said, they can fit anywhere and be awesome. So obviously that is perfectly fine in my opinion. And then I don't know. I wouldn't take Derek Queen for them if you think that. I just don't know how I would rely on him and Klingon playing together. But if you think they can, I mean, they can both really pass the ball, so I could see it working out. So I mean, I could be talked into Derek Queen. I could be talked into Essengue. I think we were in the same spot in the mock draft here, and Malawatch is also off the board here. My top player available, I need to change it to Noah Essengue. Essengue. Yeah, in this part of the mock draft, we had Utah trading up from 21 to 11. In that instance, though, Jeremiah Fears had fallen to 11. Now at this point, like I don't know who really likes Essengue enough to trade up for him. That's why like Fears was a guy to get traded up for because he was at least a compelling, not compelling, but a non-universally valued player. Like some teams could be much higher on him, and that's what ultimately happened with New Orleans. Breaking news.
11 will be Memphis's pick, and then elsewhere, the Phoenix Suns draft Malawatch, but they have also traded for center Mark Williams from the Charlotte Hornets. I'm told the Hornets are getting the number 29 pick in tonight's draft.
Okay, so number 11 is actually going to be Memphis. Memphis has had the number 16 pick. I'm not sure. I'm assuming they're trading up from 16 to 11. Yeah, so Shams just reported it. He didn't say what it was for yet. I'm assuming it's for 15 and one of the other picks. They're saying announced.
As part of a deal to be finalized later, the Houston Rockets are trading to the Phoenix Suns the draft rights to Kaman Malawatch, the 10th pick.
Yeah, okay. We know that. Can you hear this good, Finn?
With the 11th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers select Cedric Coward.
Cedric Coward. Okay, so Cedric Coward's going to Memphis. We didn't really get to talk through opportunities for Memphis, but yeah, I really like Cedric Coward. I think he can fill in pretty well for Desmond Bane, all things considered. Do a lot of the same things. Really shoots the ball very well. I think he might even be a better defender day one than Desmond Bane was. Yeah, I mean, I really like Cedric Coward. I had him 9th on my big board. I think this is a perfectly fine deal. I want to see what they traded to move up, or maybe they just outright traded for this pick, and Portland's moving this pick later down the line. I'd be interested in it. But yeah, perfectly fine selection here for Memphis. I guess this is directly involved in the Desmond Bane return. So we will get some confirmation, hopefully, from Shams or somebody. Yeah. I'm not seeing anything on this Memphis trade. Okay. Grizzlies are sending number 16 and a first round pick via Orlando in 2 seconds. So I think that's really good for both teams, because I didn't have a name that I necessarily loved for Portland, and you're moving down 5 spots, picking up an extra first in 2 seconds. I think that's perfectly fine for them. And then for Memphis, like you might have a ton of extra picks, and I would think that OKC or San Antonio, there we go, would have taken Cedric Coward. Finn, how do you feel about this?
I need to see what they gave up to move up.
It was 2028 first and 2 seconds.
I don't hate it.
And number 16 as well.
I hate
it. I mean, I don't hate it. That Orlando pick in 2028 likely won't be too high. I mean, it is pretty hefty, but I'm assuming this is the guy they had circled. I would really like Cedric Coward filling into any player, filling in next to any player.
Like, you better be the player that they have circled to make that trade.
Yeah, I'm guaranteed that he definitely was. He is now tied to be the highest drafted player in Washington State history. Do you know who he's tied with, Finn?
Klay Thompson.
Yeah, they just showed it on your screen. You're cheating. Anyway, regardless though, I think that's perfectly fine for them now. Chicago here at 12. Originally in the mock draft we had them, I believe, take Carter Bryant. I think that's fine if you take him here. I think taking Essengue, who's the best player on my board, makes a ton of sense. They could take their queen. In fact, I think that's who I would take right now. If the pick is already in for Chicago, so clearly they had their guy. I would say Derek Queen is probably the best pick for them, even though Essengue and Bryant are higher on my board. They already have wing in Modest Bizelis, who I am sure they want to develop. They have some guards, even though I guess Yakachonis I do have slightly ahead of Derek Queen, but I would take Queen here if I were them. We'll see how this ends up playing out. I think the big surprise so far is Jagor Demon. I was not expecting him to go this early.
I'm not sure I was even expecting him to go in the first round.
Finn, I was expecting him to go in the first round. I still have him as a first rounder, but
Like, I did not have him in our top 20 list. I don't think you did either.
Well, yeah, I didn't have him in the top 20, but I had him around 20, 25, 26. He's a good player. And Brooklyn has other picks that I'm sure they are going to yeah, if they don't round out their draft strategy with their next couple picks, and I have no idea what they're doing with those next couple picks, then I really hate what they've been doing. But I have a feeling they'll round it out a little bit. They've typically drafted really well in Brooklyn, so.
Who the heck is Asa Newell?
Asa Newell is he's a good player. A lot of people really like him. I don't really, because I don't really see him being a center at the NBA level. He measured in, I think, under 6'9". He doesn't have crazy length. He doesn't have crazy athleticism. He really just screams Marvin Bagley to me, and that's why I'd be a little bit scared of him. But I do think he's going to be a player. Like, I don't think he's not going to play in the NBA. Like, he'll be able to play hard, fill in, make dunks when he needs to. It's just I wouldn't take that guy in the lottery or even like the early first. It's the late first for me. And in the mock draft, we took him at 29 to Boston. I think that's kind of the range that I like Asa Newell going.
Like, he did not even make our big board, and he just got taken. He also was the second best player available of there.
Asa Newell just got taken? I don't think he just got taken.
No, I said he's on the list.
Yeah, well, that's Jay Billis's rankings. I just not how I would rank him. I think if you are really high in Asa Newell, you think he will be a switchable five, who can protect the rim. And I'm lower on Asa Newell. I can be wrong. This is like the one space where like you should be ready to admit that you might be wrong, because you will definitely be wrong about some players who have never played professional basketball and how well they will perform in the best league in basketball. Bulls are on the clock now.
The 12th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select Noah Essengue.
Okay.
Son John Dubreuil.
Okay. So Noah Essengue was my top ranked player. I don't hate them taking Noah Essengue, all things considered. He, like I said, he's my top ranked player. He will be a NBA player, I think. High ceiling with him, plus length. I think he measured in at a legit 6'10". He's got a plus wingspan. I think over 7'1" wingspan. He can really put the ball on the floor. And I think that's, being that tall with the ability to put the ball on the floor opens up the ability for a huge ceiling for him. And he's also a very good defender as well. He guarded point guards at time on Ratio Farm Ulm. I think the only thing I'm really concerned about with him is um it's the German league isn't very good, and there has been barely any good players that have come from his team, which it gets the rep for being a team that is in the league to develop young players. That being said, they are in the German league finals right now. Essengate is not playing anymore in that series, I'm assuming, just because like he was going to be a lottery pick. I had him at 8. I really like Essengate. I think he's going to be able to defend, and that'll get him on the floor to play. And the shot's not out of this world that it becomes, something legit. So
has the German league developed an all-star period?
um I don't know if there have been any. That being said, go ahead.
I'm gonna Google it.
I don't think they have, but I also don't think they've returned a player like Noah Essengue.
Number 23 overall pick and a 2026 unprotected first round pick that's going to be the most favorable out of New Orleans and Milwaukee. So essentially two first round picks for New Orleans to move up. And at the number 13th pick, the New Orleans have had significant interest, doing a lot of research on Derek Williams.
Sean, thank you so very much. So it's going to be New Orleans. It's picking
Okay.
from the Atlanta.
So New Orleans is now picking at 13 and not Atlanta. So New Orleans had number 23 and they gave up an extra pick somewhere to move up. Earlier in this draft, they took Jeremiah Fears, and Shams just went out and told us that they have done all their work on Derek Queen, and Shams has tweeted that they're going to be taking Derek Queen at number 13.
Okay.
Oh.
Anyways, we missed a couple of all-stars from the German league. Dirk.
Oh yeah, well there, yeah. I thought Dirk had played in EuroLeague, but okay. Dennis Schroeder, German league. I don't think he quite reached all-star, but Noah Essengue, 6'10", and can dribble.
And apparently one did leave Shrimp.
Detlef Schrempf. Yeah, makes sense. Older player would slip my mind. I guess we can talk about this. So Atlanta now has traded back into the late part of the draft, which they earlier traded a pick for Porzingis. They also did do that Porzingis trade, so we can talk about that for a little bit. But for New Orleans here, they're going to be taking Derek Queen, and I don't know. That to me sounds like the end of Zion Williamson is kind of soon. I would think so at least. I think Derek Queen, like I said earlier, like Derek Queen and Zion are similar players. You know, like I don't think the Sabonis type comp makes a ton of sense for me. For Derek Queen, but I think Derek Queen's very good at driving to the rim.
Accomplishments of the legends who came before them.
Okay. That's not any draft stuff. Yeah, I would say I guess it makes sense for New Orleans. I think they're potentially gonna be moving on from somebody in their starting lineup then if they're making 2 lottery picks. And then I'll get confirmation.
Attempt to trade Zion Williamson.
Yeah, potentially. Although we've been hearing that his value isn't that much. So it'll be the most favorable of New Orleans or Milwaukee's pick next season, plus number 23 to Atlanta. So if you're Atlanta, you're like, okay, we'll pick at 23 and we're hoping that next season Milwaukee or New Orleans is not going to be very good. Which I guess that's not a horrible bet. If I'm yeah, like the first comment on reply is like, why isn't my team doing this? And I guess I kind of get that. Like, if I was Brooklyn, like, what the fuck do we have all these picks for if we're not going to get Derek Queen? I know they took Jagor Demon, and having 2 guys who might not be able to shoot or defend could be rough, but like, you need all the swings you can get. And I honestly like maybe Atlanta really likes that New Orleans / Milwaukee pick for next season more than anything that Brooklyn can give besides a Brooklyn pick. So that could also be the case. But yeah, I mean the pick's been made for us. Like, I don't have any speculation to make. I guess we can talk about Finn. Do you want to talk about Porzingis trade? Okay, well hold up. The pick's being made.
The Atlanta
New
Hawks
Orleans Pelicans.
Derek Queen.
Derek Queen. Okay, we already talked about it. All right, Finn, go ahead. Porzingis.
Got them under the second apron. Or made
What?
made it very easy to get Boston under the second apron.
Yeah, they did by getting Brooklyn involved. Yeah, I mean it made a lot of sense. Brooklyn got number 22 out of that trade. Porzingis now like fills out what is a really good Hawks starting lineup. It's just you need those guys to be healthy now. with Trey Young, Dyson Daniels, Ricochet, who was the number 1 pick a year ago, Jalen Johnson, who played at an all-star level last year, and then Porzingis, who people know his track record. I think it is good for Atlanta, 100%. To make that deal. Now you kind of have to round out the rest of your roster, and I think they should be able to do that. They still have Buffkin on roster, who maybe they see a step forward from him, or maybe they trade him to get some value elsewhere. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really I like their Queen going there. It's good. I have to think here now. Um, hmm. I guess I can talk a little bit more. I muted you because the dog was barking. Did you want to talk more about Atlanta with Porzingis?
Yeah.
Okay. We can talk a little bit more about Chicago because I didn't give them a full rundown. But yeah, Essengue and Modest Bizelis, like clearly they have a type of player that they really like. It's been reported that they want to trade Patrick Williams. Um, I don't think that's a surprise. I don't know if they'll be able to do that in all fairness, but uh, they should be looking to do that. I think that's a good wing duo to build your future around. They obviously are going to have a hole at center. They don't have another pick in this draft, but maybe they look at something. There was also reports that they really like Jonathan Kaminga. So I'm interested if that ceases now that they have 2 wings. San Antonio has already submitted the pick. Best player available for me is Carter Bryant. It looks like Commissioner Silver is about to walk onto the stage. I know they were zooming into Derek Queen. Yeah, Carter Bryant's the number 1 player on the board here for me. I have him at 9, or I have him at 10. No, I really need to know these things. Um, San Antonio, just don't take a point guard. You already got 3 of them. I think 3 of them is overrated how much of a fit it is, but I think if you take 4 point guards, the haters kind of got a point. Carter Bryant makes too much sense for them to not take Carter Bryant. Spacer plays the 4, defensive motor is excellent. I would have concerns about them taking like Jace here, and Jace and Nick Clifford is potentially here. In the mock draft, we had them take Nick Clifford, but in the mock draft, Carter Bryant was not available. Yeah, Carter Bryant's the only player who was not available in the mock draft. We had them pass on Murray Boyles um, to take Nick Clifford in the mock draft, but I don't know. We were a little bit concerned about a lot of the advantage you have with Wemby is having 5-out spacing, and I think Carter Bryant helps you keep that. So I really like Carter Bryant for them. Um, Commissioner Silver's coming to the. What'd you say?
By TV if they take a point guard.
With the first pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Carter Bryant from the University of Arizona.
Yeah, 100% the right pick, I think. He was my best player available. I mean nothing crazy in my opinion to have Carter Bryant go there. Yeah. Well, all the reasons I just stated why that's a great fit. Like it helps them build a defensive identity. He's a shooter. He can play off good players. He was just like, a non-featured guy on his college team. So I have no concerns about him adjusting to his role. And, potentially he's able to develop even more on-ball ability. I think that there is some potential to tap into. I don't think there's star potential, but yeah, I like Carter Bryant here. Like the ceiling you can anticipate is like a slightly worse version of like Nuggets Aaron Gordon. Um, maybe not as good of an on-ball player, but that's a very good player still.
Okay, so you could expect to see like someone that could potentially make an All-Star team.
Yeah, in like a very injured conference. Yeah, maybe.
as like a replacement. Let's do it.
Yeah, as in a very injured all-star replacement conference, Carter Bryant could be the guy. Yeah, my top player now available is Kasparas Yakachonis. And I think it's Chonis. I'm gonna type that in. Kasparas. Okay, I almost got it. There's no H there, and then Sionis. I put the I in the wrong spot. There we go. Yeah, Kasparas Yakachonis. If I spelled it wrong again, I have terrible reading abilities. Yeah, OKC's on the block here. Originally, we had them trade up to take Cedric Coward at 13. So I guess we were right on, Atlanta trading out of the pick because they did it in real life and they did it in our mock draft. Available here, I kind of like Yakachonis for them. I kind of don't. Yakachonis did fall in our mock draft to 17, so maybe that continues. Outside of that, Nick Clifford is the next highest guy on my board. I think you can never go wrong with Nick Clifford. Has very good size. He can pass the ball a little bit. I think the defense, like I said, will get better as he plays more of an off-ball role. I think those make sense. They could sneakily take Jace Richardson too. They have the defensive ecosystem to take on Jace Richardson, and I think he's a good scorer, which is something that they do need off their bench. So I would take either Jace Richardson or Nick Clifford here. Even though the Yakachonis is the top player on my board, that's who I would take. Just I'd say this: there've been some surprises so far. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, but
Are you sure you would rather take a big?
I'm not against taking a big here. Joan Berger is very interesting because I think he can be a monster defensively. I think Sorber, like when I wrote down Sorber's player comparison, I was floating around Hartenstein. Um, and like you said, like big makes sense because Hartenstein they might not pay when he hits free agency in a year or two. So yeah, taking big isn't out of this world. Sorber is 17th on my board. So I think Sorber's in line. We took Sorber at 15th in the mock draft to Atlanta. Uh, so yeah, I think Sorber makes sense. Yeah, we had OKC trade up for Cedric Coward. But yeah, I'd be fine taking center. I'd be fine taking Jace Richardson or Nick Clifford. So those are what makes sense to me. We're seeing teams potentially fall on Yakachonis, and I don't know. I had him in the lottery as a lottery grade player. I like Yakachonis, but he has fallen out of the lottery like we did in our mock draft. There just weren't a lot of teams in the late lottery that we saw as great fits for him. So mm, let's see. Shamus has not tweeted anything new. Pick is in. OKC could also trade this pick. It was reported that they wanted to move up. Um, whenever you talk about teams outside of that also could be moving up, like Brooklyn does make sense.
Move up to where? They would have had to trade it already.
To 15. Yeah, so picking after this would be Portland, I believe. Because Portland has that Memphis pick.
Did we not just see Portland? I take it they have the Memphis pick.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not, boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby Marks says they need a reserve facilitator. I agree. And a backup big. I agree, Bobby Marks. Those make a ton of sense. It sounds like Jace Richardson or Tom Sorber. I think Baron J is also interesting for them, and I think that's a target at 23 for them, or 25, or wherever their second pick is. Because Baron J, I think, does need that year to develop, and he might fall to that next pick. And you don't need him to play right away, because you'll still have Jalen Williams and Hartenstein next year. And I think he has a little bit higher of a ceiling, especially defensively, than Swarber.
It'll be interesting to see if the Thunder will even pay Hartenstein.
They could just pay Hartenstein. I haven't necessarily looked at what the cap would look like, but I don't think it would be uh, a favorable cap position. Like they would probably be very close to the second apron or into the second apron if they paid Hartenstein. If they gave him the same salary that he's already on, I think they would probably be in it because there's Holmgren and Jalen Williams.
NBA draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Thomas Sorber from
Okay,
Georgetown.
they take Sorber. That makes sense to me. So yeah, they take Sorber. They'll develop him for a season, and then he'll replace Hartenstein. I think that makes a ton of sense.
I told you to take a bit.
Yeah, Finn had the scoop. Thomas Sorber going straight to the best situation you could possibly go to, because OKC does not fuck up developing players.
Thunder G League.
Finn says the Thunder G League. Holy, yeah. Unfortunately, that is probably the situation for him for a lot of next season. But I mean, he'll eventually develop into a rotational piece for them. I see no way that Thomas Sorber is like a bad player. Maybe this ages terribly, but I think his feel for the game's really good.
Me neither. Just you should be at the G League because that's the only place you're gonna get playing time.
Yeah. Finn, what you doing off the screen, man? I gotta know.
Getting a drink.
Yeah. Okay, so the Mark Williams trade to the Suns is contingent on him passing a physical. So, okay. I mean, I would assume that was the case, but it is kind of weird to trade a pick that is going to be selected tonight if you don't have a piece. As a part of the trade, Charlotte is acquiring Vasily Micic, which is basically a salary dump.
Salary match?
Probably more than a match. It's probably a little bit of a salary dump. Vasily Micic was already on Charlotte too. That's the funny part of it. He got traded in the deadline deal between the two. All right, so this is now Portland picking at 16. Again, my best player here is Yakichonis. I think if they were considering Yakichonis at 11, which is where they were originally picking, then taking Yakichonis makes sense here. I don't know if they were though. Outside of that, I don't know what I like for them. Yeah, I mean, I think I would just take Yakichonis. Nick Clifford, you can't go wrong with taking Nick Clifford either, who's number 14 on my board, and Yakichonis is 11. So the pick is apparently already in. Yeah. Memphis got that pick in quick. Um, all right, Portland. This is Portland. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, they have a ton of players. Denny Avdia, uh, Jeremy Grant are going to be there on the wing with Tumani Kamara and Shaden Sharp. At the point guard position, they already have Holiday and Scoot Henderson. Um, Center, they have Robert Williams, uh, Donovan Cling, and DeAndre, and they just have a ton of guys there. And like Chris Murray's also there. It's just never been able to find playing time. They have a lot of players. So I really don't know what Portland's doing, but I mean we'll figure it out. Um, in the mock draft, we had them trading back and getting Trey, who I think is a little rich for this point in the draft. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. We literally have no inkling on what Portland likes here, but I think it is a good trade for them if they take Yakachonis, because that was probably the guy they would have taken at 11. They're interviewing Cooper Flag right now. Interesting. Um, and you think there's an avenue where Cooper Flag fails?
To reach his ceiling, yes. As a player, no.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. You know, he might not reach that all MVP type of season or type of ceiling, but I see no way that Cooper Flag isn't like a very good NBA player. Yeah. I think I really do like that trade for Memphis, though, trading up to get Cedric Coward, because he would not have fallen to 16. Like, OKC would have taken him. San Antonio would have definitely taken him. Um, at 13, I clearly New Orleans really liked Derek Queen, and at 12, Chicago did take Essengue, so potentially they could have taken Cedric Coward, although I think they do like that Essengue is more of a 3-4 than a 2-3 like Howard is. But yeah, I do like that trade for Memphis. And now we'll see what it looks like immediately for Portland, even though they did get a pick in 28 and 2 seconds as well. So that, deal's obviously not done after this. Pick's been in for about 3 minutes.
I do not see Cooper Flag becoming another Tim Beckham.
Another who?
Tim Beckham.
Oh,
Draft bust.
see, we're talking about the NBA draft, and Finn's pulling out the MLB busts. Yeah, Tim Beckham was a big draft bust. Went first overall, 2007 probably. I don't know, long time ago. Also, the NBA draft is a little bit more certain than the MLB draft.
Okay,
Guys,
that's it.
guys go right away into the league. It's a huge part of that. Pretty quickly whether or not they're going to be able to pan out, even though they are extraordinarily young when they get drafted in the league most of the time. So guys can have late development. I think NIL is sneakily a good thing because guys who need to go back to college will go back to college more. Like this year, I didn't feel like there were any one and dones that made no sense to go to the draft. Like I thought Jagor Demon was a guy who made sense, who would make sense to go back to college, but clearly he had a promise to go 8th overall to Brooklyn. So yeah, can't fault him for taking 8th overall pick money. I thought Will Riley made some sense if he wanted to go back to college, but I think he's going to go in the first round. Memphis is picking,
With the 16th pick in the
or
2025
Portland.
NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select
Portland.
Yang Hansen from Zibo, China.
Wow.
Qingdao Eagles.
They took Hansen Yang, 16th overall. That is wow.
Did you even have him in the first round?
Oh,
Because I didn't even know he existed.
I had a late first round grade / early second round grade on Hansen Yang. Okay, here's the thing with him. Maybe, and I did think this was a possibility when he was when I was evaluating him. I was like, there's a very good chance that this is the guy that I've completely missed in the overseas circuit, because he played in the CBA, and like he looks like his defense wouldn't translate to the NBA, but he did win the defensive player of the year in the CBA. It's just, you're like, can he move his feet, all this stuff.
I'm like,
In-
is the CPA any good?
It's good. It's one of the better leagues.
Because I don't know anything about overseas.
Yeah. This is quite crazy to me. I didn't think I thought there was a possibility that Hansen Yang would go in the first. I didn't think it would be this early though. I also don't know about this for Portland. Like, they just did draft Klingon, and I really liked Klingon a year ago, and he had a pretty decent rookie season. I guess clearly they think they can play together, and I don't like. I feel like if you think that Klingon can play with another big, you should have just taken Queen at 11. So I don't know how I like that, but I don't think Hansen Yang is like an unreal player to get drafted. It's just I would not have taken him at 16.
I just don't like the team thing because of what you just said. If you think the player can play with another big, they should have taken Queen at 11.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's the second highest or the third highest selected player out of the CBA. So, or no, just Chinese born. That's quite crazy. Okay. I still don't know if I like it for Portland. I will have to dive deeper into um I will have to dive deeper into the Hansen Yang stuff.
You should probably do a not live recap with Sheldon.
What'd you say?
So you should probably do a not live recap with Sheldon.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to, like, we did both have Hansen Yang as, I think we talked about him going potentially in our mock draft, but
But there's been some other stuff that I want to see the logic for. Family, the whole Williams thing.
what'd you say?
I said there's some other stuff I kind of want to see the logic for. Like the whole Williams thing.
Williams.
They took a player and traded for a player that play the exact same position.
Wait, are we talking about Portland? Okay, Minnesota's selecting. I didn't even get to talk about them.
With the 17th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Johan Biranji
Okay.
from Strasbourg.
We're talking about Phoenix.
The Olympia Club in Slovenia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so Phoenix took Mark Williams, or took yeah. I guess that would make a little bit less sense to me, honestly. Okay, so Minnesota just took Joan Berenger. Um Okay, so Berenger, I like for sure. This is I'm assuming this still means they think that they're going to move Gobert, or that they're not going to retain Naz Reid. Berenger could be a monster defensive player, like out of this world. He moves ridiculously well for a 7-footer. Um, Most fluid 7-footer I can remember for a while. Like literally watch it. Like 7-footers are not supposed to be able to move as well as he does. He does look like a deer in headlights sometimes. Like he just like still needs to figure out how to play the game. And I just don't know what the offense is going to look like. But yeah, the defense is like absurd. He's got great measurements. I like taking Berenger for them if they wanted to go center. Makes perfect sense. Again, still at this point, Kasparis Yakachonis is the top player on my board. So as our mock draft ends up being, like, Yakachonis falling to 17 wasn't that ridiculous, and we thought it was kind of crazy when we had it happen. But again, like the fits just don't make too much sense for them, for him. So yeah, I like the Joan Berenger pick though. Um, it was somebody who I had in my top 20. Um, I 100% see a very good future for him as potentially like an all defensive candidate. Um, yeah, now picking here for Washington. Again, best player on my board is Kasparis Yakachonis. Um, I'm starting to be concerned about my evaluation of him if NBA teams don't like him as much as I did. Um, but yeah, I still I stand on it. Nick Clifford is also a very highly ranked player for me, and Walter Clayton here for Washington. They did take Trey Johnson already. Um, for them, I would really like Nick Clifford. Like you get a win now player in there. They took Trey Johnson. You get Nick Clifford in the mix as a guy who can pass. Him and Bilal Coulibaly can help you defensively. They'll have um, uh, Jesus, I'm missing it. Sar still holding down the paint. That would be nice. Nolan Traore, like I didn't haven't really mocked him going to Washington, but I think he makes a ton of sense if you want more of the facilitating guard, rather than Yakachonis, who I think is a scorer. Um, yeah, that's what makes sense to me. I'd have to look further down my board as well. I don't think Rasheer Fleming is an unreal player to take here. Yeah, Noah Penda could make some sense. He's a big plus defensive player who he can play the floor next to Alex Sarr. He can pass the ball a little bit. I think the shot will end up being fine. I basically have named off all of my tier 5 players, and I have 2 tier 4 players still available in Yakachonis and Nick Clifford. Yeah, Finn. I don't know. I'm still thrown off by that Hansen Yang pick. Um, that's yeah. That will never, yeah, that's probably not gonna like sit in for me for a while now. Um, yeah, surprise at 19 or at 16, Portland draft Hansen Yang. Yeah, okay, that's all that's been said.
Like, do you not have a board of guys who you're gonna take before the draft,
What do you mean?
or who you would like to take?
What's the question?
It seems like these GMs don't have a list of players they want to take.
I think they do, Vin. It's just like when you're on the clock, teams are gonna call. Um,
The next
because like,
teams, like the Mavericks, they just need to slam the phone.
well, yeah, the Mavericks made the pick very quickly. They made it in like 2 minutes. I would assume they already had the decision lined up, and they just it took 2 minutes for the pick to be processed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's also, jeez, I think there's also a possibility that Adam Silver could also be like learning these names for the first time. But we don't know yet. As we're approaching the 2 hour mark, I have no idea what this is about to do, because usually when we record, um, there's a 2 hour limit on the recordings. But I'm assuming it's different from live streaming. So let's see what Washington does. They've already taken Trey Johnson. I think that's good for them.
If it's not, we can always do a third one.
Yeah, we can always load up a third one once we realize this isn't gonna make sense. It's saying that there's like 40 minutes left. Yeah, Sheldon. I know he really likes Clayton, but I don't know if I would take Clayton after I've already taken Trey Johnson.
I don't think I can.
Yeah, I don't know if I would.
The Utah Jazz want a shooter at this position, someone that can help them. They're identifying Walter Clayton Jr. out of Florida at this pick potentially, but that process is still going on. But this number 18th overall pick is going to the Utah Jazz.
Okay, so the Jazz are on the clock.
Pick here is headed to the Utah Jazz.
So as that stands,
Just say who will be taken.
so the Washington Wizards have traded the pick to Utah. I'm assuming for 21 and some other stuff. They've already taken Ace this draft. Apparently they're targeting Walter Clayton. I actually love that. I think Walter Clayton's awesome. I might be better than Ace. He's probably better than Ace Bailey is right now. That's gonna be crazy. But I mean, they could take center if they weren't gonna take a center. But I think Sean's saying that they're targeting the set, because when the Hawks traded the pick that was Derek Queen, he said something similar about Derek Queen. Okay, yeah. Shams confirmed that Walter Clayton is going number 18 to Utah. The best, one of the better players in college basketball. I had Walter Clayton at 18, and he goes 18th. So I like how that's shaped up for them. You get a shooter. I think somebody has underrated upside. Finn, I talked about it with Sheldon on the mock draft. I've talked about this with you. Let's just quickly go through. Name some star MVP level guards for me that are undersized.
Shay.
Shay's not undersized.
Halliburton.
Halliburton, I would give it because he's skinny. He was a multi-year college player.
Damian Lillard.
Yep. I think 3 or 4 year college player.
Curry.
3 year college player.
Trey Young.
Exception.
LaMelo Ball.
Is 6'7".
Lonzo Ball.
It's still 6'6". Finn.
Luca.
6'6". Oh, picks coming in.
Portland Trailblazers are trading to the Memphis
Brunson.
Grizzlies the draft rights to Cedric Coward, the 11th pick.
Okay, they're going over the Coward trade. Brunson is 3 year college player.
The 16th pick.
Desmond
And the
Bain.
18th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. The Washington Wizards select Walter Clayton Jr.
Yep. Right pick. I like it. I like it. They're gonna shoot a ton of threes over there in Utah. like I said, we went through those guys. John Morant, you could throw him in there. He was a multi-year guy. Um,
Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain, he was a multi-year guy, but he's not I wouldn't necessarily call him a small guard. Um, but yeah, man, like what I'm saying is like guards that are undersized typically need time to develop. So I'm never going to like really fade a guy for multiple like because if Walter Clayton wasn't 6'2", he wouldn't have spent multiple years in college. He would have gone in one of his first. He would have gone his first year. Um, we already said Curry. Same Steph Curry, same thing, man. So like, if I really think that somebody is an excellent shooter, like I think Walter Clayton a year ago would have been the best shooter in the draft if he would have been in the draft last year. Um, and I think he's the second best shooter in this draft. I can't knock a guy for being old when the only guards of his size that generally find success are also guys who had multiple college years. So that's my Walter Clayton pitch. I think that applies to Cam Jones a little bit too, who might be selected today. Um, it just makes sense to me. I think Walter Clayton could be a steal in this draft. Like there's a good opportunity that he like makes an all rookie team and like I mean he could even win rookie of the year if like Cooper Flag doesn't do it. Because I would say him and Nick Clifford, Cooper Flag are probably some of the better players in the draft right now. As we stand again, Brooklyn's on the clock. We did have them draft Yakachonis at 17 in our mock draft. Yakachonis is my top player available. I feel like I would take Yakachonis. Nick Clifford's also available here. I think there's a good reason to take Nick Clifford. They did just take Jagor Demon. So I can see them going any different way here. I like a Do Thero for them. As somebody who can like potentially just be a monster defensively. It seems like they're going to make all 5 of these picks. Yeah, those really make sense to me. I think I would take one of Yakachonis or Nick Clifford because like the reason you have all these picks is you take guys who fall in the draft. You want to take some upside and you kind of get 2 upside swings with Yakachonis and Jagor Demon. Yeah, Adu Thero's on the board. He's my number 20 player. Ryan Kalkbrenner is my number 21 player. Everybody else that's been taken, I believe, is in my top 16 outside of Jagor Demon and Hansen Yang, I believe. Yeah, I think this pick from Brooklyn kind of like I think you have to take Yakachonis. I wouldn't have hated them taking Yakachonis at 8. I wouldn't have done it. I would have taken Derek Queen at 8, but I think taking Yakachonis here to pair with Jagor Demon and they can like share on ball point guard reps. Think makes a lot of sense, even though neither of them can really dribble that well right now. I think they can both pass. I think that kind of sets you up to potentially being a great passing team. So I'm very surprised that Miami still has their pick. They're gonna pick in a second year.
It's in.
Yeah. Well, Brooklyn's about to make their pick, but see the Jalen Brunson jersey in the background of the draft. Yeah, this has been crazy. Yeah, I really think that Clayton pick will play out well for them. I think teams are going to regret. I mean, I actually don't know if anybody's going to regret passing on Clay. I think this is a really strong draft. Yeah, fan. I don't think we even gave that enough talking points. Is how strong this draft class is. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Picks in. Adam Silver's at the board.
With the 19th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Nolan Traore.
Nolan Trey. Okay. So yeah, I brought that up. The pick before for Washington, but yeah, I like Traore. He was a top 5 player in this draft coming into the year. He like absolutely lit up the international scene. And then he had a rough year this past season. His pro team is slipping my mind right now. It's not Trenton, but St. John. No. Jesus, St. Quentin, not Trenton. But yeah, Traore is awesome. His feel for the game's awesome. I think it helps him on the offensive side and the defensive side of the game. Um, the shooting is what you would be concerned about. Um, I really just kind of see him being like tall Fred VanVleet, honestly. He's got to put on some weight, but yeah, I like Nolan Traore here. Uh, if you would have told Brooklyn at the start of the year they were getting Jagor Demon and Traore, I think they would have been very happy. Those are two of the better international prospects. Maybe that's a theme we need to watch out for Brooklyn. They have a pick coming up in a second or two. But yeah, it's looking not very right now oriented with the guys they've been taking. Very, very future minded. Two really good passers too. So, Denver Nuggets type of thing. They like passing. And then that'll carry over with Jordy to Brooklyn. Miami's now on the clock. Again, Yakuchonis has been my best player available for probably like 10 picks now. I don't know, probably 10 picks now. Whenever Essengue went off the board, I think. So about 8 picks now. In the mock draft, I can't remember. We had them going Jace Richardson. Jace Richardson still on the board here. I feel like Miami has to take either Yakuchonis or Jace. I think they'll move on from Tyler Hero within a year or two. I don't have a ton of reason to believe that, but I think they would do it. Yeah, that's just kind of how I see it. Finn, what do you think? Should they move off of Tyler Hero?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to, but you're getting a guy who and Jace or Yakuchonis who aren't going to be great on ball defenders. I think there's some reason to move off of the Tyler Hero. Yeah, and I mean Nick Clifford's still available, so if they want to go somebody they think can play with uh Tyler Hero, they can take Nick Clifford. And they're recapping the Jimmy Butler trade as, of course, they would when Miami's on the board. There were some rumblings about this pick being traded for DeMar DeRozan. Clearly, that has not come into fruition. There's been slightly less trades than I was anticipating. I guess there was the Portland trade and the Atlanta trade. No trade at the top kind of confused me. I thought Charlotte would have traded down or Philadelphia, but I did think that Philly would take VJ if VJ was available. We'll see.
Finally, the Mets won a game.
The Mets won.
Yeah.
Damn. That's awesome. I got into an Instagram argument about somebody telling me McNeil's a center fielder. I guess he made a good play today in center field. I'll probably look at it and it's like an 88% catch probability, but I don't give a shit to argue with somebody who thinks Jeff McNeil should be your everyday center fielder. Yeah, Miami. There is some merit to them not taking a guard because they have Davion Mitchell as well, who they need to pay, but they will be bringing back, I'm pretty sure, because he had a very good run with the Heat. And then Tyler Hero is obviously there.
I thought Donovan Mitchell was on the Cavs.
Is it Davion Mitchell? Obviously, Donovan Mitchell's on the Cavs, man. I don't know. I don't know what the move is here for Miami. They could trade it. I don't know if I like them trading it though. I feel like Shams is speaking.
Kevin Durant, the Miami Heat are remaining active, and when you look into free agency, one name to keep an eye on that I'm told they are expected to be a potential suitor for is Warriors restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga. And the Warriors are comfortable potentially bringing Kuminga back in free agency, but they also are keeping an open mind as far as working through potential sign and trade possibilities. So Jonathan Kuminga, a couple other targets potentially for the Heat, whether it's in free agency or trade here over the next week or two.
Interesting. All right. We'll certainly be keeping.
Okay, with the idea, it wasn't a trade. I was thinking there was going to be a trade, but with the idea of them also signing Kuminga, then a guy like Nick Clifford, you get two-way player in there who could slot in pretty nicely in that starting lineup with Hero, Mitchell, Kuminga, and Bam Adebayo. They might also want to stay with double big lineups with Kalel Ware in there with Bam. I don't know. I'm not sure. The Heat's recent draft history is like very hit or miss. I didn't, I liked Kalel Ware, especially once he went to Miami, but I didn't think it was like a crazy pick for them to make. Adam Silver's walking to the podium. Let's see what they do.
With the 20th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Miami Heat select Kasparis Yakuchonis.
Okay, they take Yakuchonis. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's the best player available for like 3 picks. Yeah, I not even 3 picks. It's probably closer to 10. Yeah. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think potentially marks the end of what could be Tyler Hero's Miami Heat career. I mean, we'll ultimately just have to see. But yeah, I mean, nothing outside of that. Like, they'll still need a wing in their rotation. I guess they do have Wiggins, but like, it's been pointing towards them potentially moving Wiggins. Maybe this means a pivot to them trading Hero since they've had little success trying to move Wiggins. I don't know. It's certainly a start. I finally have an opportunity to edit my best player available text, and Nick Clifford is now my best player available, and I think
Finally someone took the Sparrows.
finally someone took Kasparis. Like, jeez. I understand his end of the season wasn't great, but like, I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", and like, I think a very creative passer, even if he's a little too adventurous at times. And like he's very, very efficient at the rim, and I think the shot will be fine. I guess he must not have like shot well or something. Like, you weren't expecting him to be a great athlete, so I wouldn't have expected his stock to drop in the combine. Yeah, I mean, like, he was somebody who we thought was crazy for him falling to 17 in our mock draft. So yeah, this is now Washington selecting at 21. At 21, we originally had Trey, but that was going to Portland in a different mock trade. So here for Washington, they already took Trey Johnson. Like kind of the same names that I brought up before for them that I like that were available when Walter Clayton was taken to Utah. Adu Thero makes a ton of sense. He can defend. That works for me. There's some merit to them taking another guard. We'll see. I think Nick Clifford makes still some sense, but then you kind of don't have a point guard in your starting lineup, or you're expecting Nick Clifford or Bilal or Trey Johnson, which would probably end up being uh, Nick Clifford coming off the bench. I think the same thing kind of happens with the Duthero, even though you can't probably play a Duthero at the 4. Outside of that, Jace Richardson is still very high on my board. He's 16th on my board, so I guess he's only fallen a couple spots, but I expected him to kind of do that anyway. Noah Penda, Rasheer Fleming also makes sense. Um, Weird world where Will Riley makes a ton of sense because I kind of see him more as a guard um, than a wing, but he is wing sized. Um, And you got to keep in mind too, this Washington front office has a lot of ties to the Oklahoma City Thunder, so they can like guys similar to what OKC might like. So Will Riley might fit that bill where he's plus size with ability to handle the ball and potential to shoot. Um, but Will Riley also just isn't good defensively. So I don't know what to make of that. Yeah, I guess I got Jace, Neek, Kalkbrenner, and Adu Thero are the only guys remaining from my top 21. Um, those were the ones outside of Nick Clifford, because I really expected Nick Clifford to go like the top 15. Um, outside of Nick Clifford, I think all those guys were the ones that I would have expected to fall. Um, I still can't believe the Hansen Yang pick. I can't say it's quite insanity yet because I do want to look a little bit more into Hansen Yang, but like I didn't think anybody would be this high on him. I guess Portland didn't have any way to trade down any further. Maybe they were really trying to, and Hansen Yang was just their guy. But in that case, I would have taken best player available at 16 and tried to trade up into the late first for Hansen Yang, unless you really felt that somebody else really liked him. I just don't know who that team would have. Like maybe Utah would have been that team, but clearly they liked Clayton. Maybe Washington would have been that team, and Washington did trade down. So I don't know. I really don't know. The pick's been in for 2 minutes. Our 2-hour timer is about to explode. So we'll see how that plays out. We still don't know what the deal is on the trade between Washington and Utah. Let's see. Utah sent number 42 and second rounders to Washington to move up a couple spots. I that makes sense. You move up 3 spots, you trade 3 first or 3 second rounders. Then yeah. All right. We have hit the 2-hour mark. So it seems to me like we're not getting shut down. Yeah, we've made it all the way through. Looks like the draft's about to come back. If I don't see Adam Silver at this podium, I'm gonna feel some type of way about it. Let's not draft somebody during a Taco Bell commercial again. Although I'm sure Sheldon would be fine if they drafted somebody during a Taco Bell commercial right now. Be very, maybe a token of potential good luck. Unfortunately, he's still at work. I'm pretty sure.
It must work a freaking night shift.
Yeah, I think he was like, "Oh shit, I'm scheduled like right before."
With the 21st pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz select Will Riley.
Will Riley.
Kitchener, Canada.
Yeah. Okay. So I did bring that up a second ago for Washington. I like that. I think he could actually start for them. Maybe he'll take a second to develop. But yeah, high upside. I think there's possibility he becomes a really good scorer. Yeah, I like Will Riley. He's got a great handle. And a solid feel for the game. So Will Riley, I would assume they go forward with him and Trey Johnson as their starting guards, and then they'll have Bilal, with somebody at the 4 and Alex R, and that's how they see their future being. They also do have a ton of veterans on their NBA roster with like CJ McCollum, Marcus Smart, and Chris Middleton all being on the team.
I thought
So
CJ McCollum got. Oh yeah, they traded for him.
what?
McCollum got traded recently.
Yeah, to Washington. So yeah, I mean, I think Will Riley makes a lot of sense. I mean, I did.
Utah traded this pick to Washington.
Yeah. All right, Atlanta. That's not Atlanta. That is Brooklyn. As a part of the Porzingis deal.
What does Brooklyn have to do with the Porzingis deal?
They took on salary, in the Porzingis deal
And they got
from
a bid
Atlanta.
for it.
Yeah, they got 22 and 4. Best player available on the board for me is Nick Clifford. They went with Trey and Jesus, who'd they go with? They went with Trey and Jagor Demon. Nick Clifford works next to those guys. Nick Clifford can also pass, and potentially that's a theme of how they're going to be drafting here. And Nick Clifford has other skills too besides passing. So I do like Nick Clifford for them. Other guys, I mean, you can't go wrong with a Duke Thero in my opinion. Because it's just so much upside with him. He can eventually develop a shot. If he falls to the second round, that is a steal in my opinion. Clax is still there, but maybe they're not planning on that being the thing for the future. So Ryan Kalkbrenner, I think, could step into an NBA role right away. I don't know if that's how Brooklyn's drafting. Rasheer Fleming makes a ton of sense. He can shoot. He can play the 4, potentially play the 5. But maybe they go more upside. No Penda makes sense. He can really pass the ball. Has defensive upside. Danny Wolf too. I guess it's the first time I brought up Danny Wolf. He sees the game well. Kind of like Yakachonis, where he is an audacious passer, and that leads to a ton of turnovers. But yeah, I do think Danny Wolf makes some sense for them. And this is the first time I brought up Danny Wolf. So wouldn't be surprised if any of those names came up. Maybe they just take another like 6'3" to 6'8" guard and Ben Serif, who can pass the ball. I have no idea.
Took a guard.
What?
Didn't they already take a guard?
They already took 2 guards, but they're all big. So you can convince yourself that you can make a lineup out of that. I have no idea what Brooklyn. If they take another guy who like has real passing field, then I think we've noticed a theme at least.
Were they the team that took Peyton?
What?
Were they not the team that took Peyton?
Peyton?
Yeah,
Clayton?
yeah.
No, Utah took Clayton. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And then Atlanta's picking at 23. You think OKC's keeping 24, Finn? They already got a center. Well,
Atlanta's
shit.
picking at 23?
Huh?
Atlanta's picking at 23?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, because New Orleans traded up.
for Queen. OKC. What if Jace falls to OKC? I feel like Atlanta definitely wants Jace. Brooklyn. I don't think taking Jace is crazy for Brooklyn either. He's my guy after Nick Clifford.
Take Nick Clifford.
I would say today is a successful day for me if all of the guys in my top 21 get drafted in the first round today. Um, yeah, I would call that a success.
I agree.
Even if Yakachonis fell 9 picks. Uh,
Watch Nick Clifford not get drafted.
there's no way Nick Clifford falls to the second round. If Nick Clifford falls to the second round, it's just an unreal steal. OKC would take Nick Clifford if Nick Clifford was available. I would think. Or like Jesus, if one of Brooklyn's picks, if he's available for then, somebody would make calls about Nick Clifford that Brooklyn would have to entertain.
We're not done with Brooklyn yet.
Yeah, Brooklyn is picking right now, and then they have 26 and 27, I think. It's just like they have 5 firsts in this draft.
Are you done with Brooklyn after 27?
For the night, I believe they have an early second, but we're not gonna react to it. Um, that'll be tomorrow, and I think we'll just have to phone in if there's any crazy things. Um, yeah, I wish they would announce this Brooklyn pick. It's been in for a second now. Um,
Any day now, Adam.
hey, maybe it's being traded. I don't know. I feel like if Brooklyn were to have done any trading, they would have done it by now. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's crazy of me to say. Um, that's a good quote, Dylan Harper.
Thanks.
Um,
Uh,
oh shit,
what?
NBA draft. The Atlanta Hawks select Drake Powell.
Drake Powell.
University of North Carolina.
Okay, so Brooklyn takes Drake Powell. So I did like Drake Powell. I did have him with a late first, early second grade. So this isn't out of possibility for him. Yeah, Drake Powell at 30. Um, I think he does fill in a uh a role between Trey and Jagor Demon as a 3-and-D wing potentially. I do see how that works. So, yeah, not too crazy. I would have rather a Duthero of a player of that archetype, but there's a possibility that with Trayor and Jagor Demon, they wanted the guy that is the better shooter of the 3-and-D archetypes. And I would say Drake Powell is a more likely shooter than uh, a Duthero. But I don't know. I don't think it's crazy. He was also one and done. Sticks with their theme of drafting younger guys.
So how
Um,
many more players do you have in your top 21 that have not been drafted?
so as of right now, it's just Nick Clifford, Adu Thero, and Ryan Kalkbrenner, and Jace Richardson.
So 4.
4 guys. Currently on the clock is Atlanta. Um, Going into the draft, we really liked them getting center and then potentially like a backup guard. We took Cam Jones at 22 for them. And now they're picking at 23 after some trades. I think if Jace is available, you take Jace. Even though like him and Trey could be like catastrophic defensively, ideally Jace is playing when Trey's not on the floor for a year or so. But if you do want a guy who feel a little bit more comfortable playing with Trey, like Cam Jones, makes a
Why
ton
not
of
take
sense.
Nick Clifford?
And then yeah, I agree with you. You can I think it makes a ton of sense to take Nick Clifford as well. Only reason I brought up Cam Jones is because he's 23 on my board. It's not like he's far down. I think I would take Nick Clifford though. Outside of Hansen Yang, everybody who has been taken so far is in my top 30. Hansen Yang I had at 33, which
Okay, so it's not like you had him not drafted.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was just missing something on Hansen Yang. Maybe I needed to see more. I don't think it's out of this world that I would have put him a little bit higher than a couple guys I had in the late first. I don't know yet. I want to see more, I guess. Because now knowing that a team liked him, they take him at 16. Like maybe I need to look back into it. I just saw him as a late first candidate. So
The Atlanta Hawks taking our sweet time.
yeah, they're really taking this pick. I think Nick Clifford's the pick, honestly. Obviously, it's easy for me to say that because he's the top of my board, but um, he's extremely talented. On ball, he can make passes. He can shoot. He can defend. He has very little weaknesses. I think if teams are going to poke a hole at him, it's like maybe his skills aren't good. They're more marginal, but I do think he's NBA quality at damn near everything. And I think right now he's one of the best players in this draft. I don't think they'll take Kalkbrenner. That is a guy who I did like for them before, but they have Porzingis and Onyeka Okongwu now, so I don't think they'll take Kalkbrenner. If so, like I think that's kind of crazy when they are going to need players to fill out their bench. So I don't know. I mean I don't hate Noah Penda either. I wouldn't do it. I don't think. I think Nick Clifford or Aduthiero makes the most sense.
I just want Adam to get his ass on the stage.
I think Nick Clifford makes the most sense though, because outside of Trey, they don't have anybody else. Outside of Trey and Jalen Johnson, they don't have anybody else who can like step on ball. And I think Nick Clifford kind of provides that for him. So even though I don't think it's going to be like good when Nick Clifford does that, that's why I kind of understand taking Jace, even though he won't start for them, because Jace and Trey Young defensively just sounds abysmal. Even though they have good defenders behind it, just like that sounds terrible.
That might just make them the worst defense in the NBA.
Yeah, like they're both 6 foot flat. Like I don't think I can do that. They're combined like 350 pounds. I don't know if you can sell me on that. And then the thing that I really liked about Jace is like I didn't see many places where he would start day one, but I could see a lot of places where he would be the backup creator and then eventually develop into a team's like secondary creator after they move off of their lead guard, and like Trey Young could definitely be that guy. So that's why like the floor for me was Jace Richardson going at 22 to Atlanta when I was doing early mocks. And I think that it's the same situation here. Like it makes sense. Like if you ever have to move on from Trey Young, like you can start Jace Richardson and like get like definitely not the same type of impact, but like I don't know, you can fake some type of league creator impact with Jace. Picks in, he's making this talk.
As part of a deal to be finalized later, the Washington Wizards are trading for the Utah Jazz the draft rights to Walter Clayton
Okay.
Jr., the 18th pick.
So they're just going over the Clayton and Will Riley trade. Makes sense. It's always a little bit delayed. Here we go.
Asa Newell.
Oh, so the Hawks take Asa Newell. I don't hate Asa Newell, but this is just not a situation that I like, especially now that they've taken Porzingis and they already have Onyeka Okongwu and Jalen Johnson. Like, I don't know how many big minutes are available unless this pick is being traded elsewhere. I don't know. Let's see. What is Shams? I mean, I don't know if Shams has said anything, but yeah, Shams hasn't said anything, so I'm assuming um that that is the pick for Atlanta. I mean, yeah, if I had to sell somebody on Asa Newell, it's like, hey, he can be a center that you can switch a lot of actions with. You might be a little bit undersized, but he can move his feet pretty well and he can finish plays. And hey, if you want to play finisher around any player, you want him around Trey Young. So
actually be able to make a switch.
yeah,
Look at you, Knicks.
yeah. Like I don't the I guess I see it. I see it. It makes sense. I'm assuming Onyeka Okongwu is more available than I was anticipating after this and the Porzingis trade. Unless they just want to play massive and have Jalen Johnson play like point guard minutes.
Does he have the ball handling to do that?
He was a like high school and occasional college point guard, but he's basically exclusively been a power forward in the NBA. So I mean, I don't know. All right, OKC's up. I think Jace makes like a ton of sense for them. I think Nick Clifford makes a ton of sense for them. Um, yeah, like I thought Nick Clifford would like be their pick at 15. And yeah, getting him and Sorber in this draft is like crazy for OKC. Like, guys, we got to stop letting them do this. If they take either Neek or Jace, it's great. Honestly, I think they should veto if they get a Thero. Like, just take somebody else. Like, y'all are already good enough at defense. OKC's already made the pick. That's crazy. All right,
You tell if they get who?
a Thero because OKC is already the best defense of all time. So, like, can we not give them a Thero? Yeah, come on. OKC, we need you to I mean do the right like Nick Clifford is I think too good to still be on the board right now. And then I think if he continues to be on the board, it's an albatross. Like why would we do this to Nick Clifford? There's some merit to them taking like a Ben Saroff, but they took Nikola Topic a year ago, who's like a plus positional size facilitator. So I don't really see that being a move for them. I guess Rasheer Fleming could make sense if they want like a big four because they don't like J Dub was their big four. Shams is speaking. We'll listen to Shams.
So the Sacramento Kings have acquired the number 24 pick in this NBA draft. Sources tell me, and they're targeting Nick Clifford.
Okay. So the Kings have traded the 24 and they're taking Nick Clifford. I'm interested in what the trade was. Knowing OKC, it's like,
They get nothing.
knowing OKC, it'll end up being a lottery pick in 2035. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about what this is for, but I would assume it's for a future draft capital.
Silver's on the stage.
2025 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select
Kings.
Nick Clifford.
Yeah, Nick Clifford. What did you say just then, Finn?
I said Silver's on the stage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's I'm interested in what was given up for Nick Clifford because the Kings don't really have picks in this draft. So I'd assume it's future picks. But yeah, Nick Clifford, I think, could make some sense there. They desperately need defense. I'm kind of interested in what that means. Maybe that doesn't mean they're going to retool their roster like I thought they might, or just try to completely rebuild. But I don't know. They would tell you they've been rebuilding for long enough. Jace Richardson is my top player on the board now. Nick Clifford. I think. I mean, he didn't actually spend that long as the top player on the board. I guess Yakachonis still holds that title. I think. Maybe Essengue. Probably not. Because Essengue was like probably like my top player from like I don't know, pick like 10. I don't know. It's getting all fuzzy. We're like 3 hours into this. Yeah, but I do like Nick Clifford. I wish the report was out. He adds something to them with his defensive ability. They really need that secondary passing, like for real. And he can shoot. Um, him and Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis potentially enough to hide Sabonis's defensive deficiencies. They might also just trade Sabonis. So maybe I'm saying all this for absolutely nothing. Has Shams told us what this return is for? Nope. It's just that they're trading for the pick.
Zach Levine.
No way it's Zach Levine. They could sneakily make it able for it to be DeMar DeRozan, but I don't know if OKC would do that. Um, like they do have the salary to make DeRozan make sense. But
Levine is on the Kings, right?
yeah, but I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think he's available, and I don't think OKC would have interest in Zach Levine. I mean, they might. Yeah, now Orlando's up. Um, let's see. I like Cam Jones for them. I like Jace Richardson for them. We took Noah Penda at this spot in the mock draft. I don't think Cam Jones or Jace were available when we did that though. Pick is already in. So I don't hate them taking Penda. They could also be trading this pick because they just um, unloaded a ton of assets in the Bane trade, so they might be wanting to recoup some right here. And I don't think that's a ridiculous decision to make. With them, they could also just take a center in Kalkbrenner and look to move some of their center depth on their NBA roster uh, to what's it called? To free up some apron space and just push later down the line with Kalkbrenner. So I don't think Kalkbrenner is a terrible pick either. But I would say Penda, Cam Jones, Chase Richardson, or Kalkbrenner. Those guys, I would take one of those guys.
What do you think we spent longer doing? Watching the teams actually make the picks, or where they got Adam Silver to get his ass on the stage?
I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you, I think he has to wait the whole time. I don't know. I feel like with how the draft show is set up, um, I feel like with how the draft show is set up, it makes a lot more sense for them to have Adam Silver wait. Because you do have to think like this is a show. Like the draft picks could already be done. I don't know. All right.
I don't think they are just because of the trades.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Apparently 2 minutes before Adam Silver will walk onto that stage. Ba-do-do-do-do.
At this point,
Jeez.
it's gonna be midnight before we're done.
Uh, no, it'll probably be about 11:30 by the time this wraps up. Um, Jeez, got work in the morning, Finn. This is crazy. At least I don't have to edit a video for tomorrow to come out. That would make it a little worse. 'Cause
You do have to put the thumbnail in for this.
this is just the video for tomorrow. Yeah, I have one ready though.
With the 25th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select Jace Richardson.
Jace Richardson makes a ton of sense. They just traded Cole Anthony, so just like get Cole Anthony, the next Cole Anthony for a rookie contract. Jace Richardson could be like the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Like he could be the guy like Tyrese Maxey, where he enters restricted free agency and you're like, oh my god, this guy's way too good, and his cap hold is like $4 million. So we have way more cap space than we ever should. Even though I don't think Orlando will have cap space by the time that happens, but regardless, yeah, I mean, Jace Richardson was my top player available. I think the fit is way too good for Orlando. I think he fell about 10 spots from where I had him. I had him at 16, my lowest graded lottery player. I just think it's going to be hard for him to break a rotation or to break a starting lineup for a year or two. He needs to develop as an on-ball player. So I don't hate the fact that he slipped, but he's certainly a talented player.
And now there are two.
Yeah, now there are just two players on my top 21 that we previewed before the draft. And my current best player is number 20, Adu Thero, from Arkansas. Would I say he's a fit here for Brooklyn? Absolutely. So,
Not.
although that being said, Brooklyn did already take Drake Powell, who is like a 3-and-D wing prospect, similar to Thero, even though Thero is not necessarily as good of a what's it called? A shooter. There we go. Jeez, it's 11 o'clock in basic basketball terms are escaping the brain, but yeah, there's that, and then like they've already just taken players of that archetype that might not shoot. So I can see them not taking Thero if they're not taking Thero. They already have Claxton to be an NBA ready center. Like I said before, they might just wait on trying to flip him. Rasheer Fleming then makes sense because he can play defense and shoot. And yeah, he plays the 4, and he's like a legit 4 man who could potentially be a small 5. And then Penda, since the first two picks were real passers, Penda makes sense too. I think if I had to pick a name right now, it would be Penda. Um, or maybe Danny Wolf, based off of like how they've drafted so far today. So left picking today, we'll have 2 Brooklyn picks, Boston, Charlotte, and the Clippers. So we'll see. I hope as many like I can say, hey, my entire top 25 went maybe. So let's see, how far am I away from that happening?
Penda, Fleming, Cam Jones, so 5. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But I don't know. It's very possible my top 22 could be taken. Top 23. Because Will Riley got taken. They said Noah Jagor Demon got taken. Drake Powell got taken. It has been said that a lot of teams will look to target a Duke Thurell if you were to fall into the second round. So maybe there is real possibility that he could. I think it makes too much sense for Boston to just take him at 28 if he falls there. We'll see though. Boston could also want Kalkbrenner because they kind of desperately need a center. Shams still hasn't told us what the package is. I'm still trying to figure out what OKC traded 24 for from Sacramento. No idea. Shams is leaving us in the dark on it. See, have I gotten a response from Sheldon on the Trey Johnson and other pick?
The Brooklyn pick is in.
Yeah, thank goodness. Let's hope Silver hits the stage. Acuna will participate in the home run derby.
Do we think Soto will?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that would be crazy.
Yeah, so this pick right here was a part of the Bridges trade, Finn. We're starting to see so right here, this is the Milwaukee pick, I think. And then the pick after is, or no, this is the Knicks pick, and the pick after it's the Houston pick. So I think pick 21 that they made was a part of the Bridges trade, which I guess ended up being let me think. Who did they just take? Drake Powell. So maybe they're shooting for the next Mikal Bridges. I don't think they quite hit there. I think Memphis got the next Mikal Bridges. But I do think Drake Powell's the best perimeter defender in this draft.
And I think Adam Silver needs to get on the state.
Yeah, the pick was extremely quick though. So is saying we got an extra 10 minutes in this. That's what the live is saying. Yeah, I have a feeling this is gonna be a couple, probably like extra 20 minutes. Oh, I see his bald ass head.
That is not Adam Silver.
With the 26th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Ben Saraf.
Ben Saroff. All right, yeah, they take another. I kind of mentioned that on their last pick. I was like, they could take another plus size point guard. I wasn't sure how to feel about Saroff because I mentioned it with Noah Essengue that his team hasn't really produced good NBA players, and like their big draft pick of all time was Killian Hayes, who was a plus size left-handed point guard, and that's exactly what Seraph is. But I think Seraph will probably be a good player. I think with him, Trey. I mean, Brooklyn has taken a ton of international guys, and then Drake Powell, who like is the most American one and done prospect of all time. But yeah, feel for the game, guys. Ben Seraph was my number 31 guy. I completely get taking Ben Seraph. in the first round here. Clearly Brooklyn is trying to be bad again next season because they have taken 4 projects, I think. I think there's possibility that one of these guys is a good day one, but I don't think all of these guys will be good day one, and I have a feeling they'll invest in all of them. But yeah, 3 playmaking guards. Like, Jesus, Finn, do you think that Brooklyn likes passing?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they do. For that reason, I think this will be Penda or Danny Wolf. You know, you can't take 3 point guards, or you can't take 4 point guards, but you can take 3 and then a power forward who's basically a point guard. And that's like what Danny Wolf is. I think Penda's the better player in my opinion. I would rather take Penda, but they could take Danny Wolf. He's a great ball handler. He played point guard as a youth player.
So who else is still on your board besides Thera?
Thoreau and Kalkbrenner are the only 2 guys on my top 21 that we talked about pre-draft. I have a very good feeling Boston will take Kalkbrenner. If not, I feel like Charlotte would take Kalkbrenner as well, or like Houston would take Kalkbrenner. Not Houston. The Clippers would take Kalkbrenner. So it's just like we need to find a do Thoreau place.
So do the Suns have their pick?
The pick's in for Brooklyn. The Suns traded that pick for Mark Williams. They're showing Liam McNeely on there. I think it was a lot of people knew that McNeely wasn't going to get drafted today. It sucks for him, but yeah, I think a lot of people kind of felt like he wasn't going to be. I think we had him going 30th overall in our mock. But even like then, like I was just like, yeah, Detroit needed a shooter and they traded up for it. So I would be surprised if this isn't Danny Wolf or Noah Penda, just based off of how Brooklyn's drafted today. Danny Wolf, the reason he wouldn't fit is because he is a 3-year college player. And they drafted a bunch of young international players. So it's got to be Penda, right? International, great feel for the game.
The
19 years
zoomed
old.
in on somebody like was the player that they took.
Oh, well, and they did show Danny Wolf seeing his phone. I think it might be Danny Wolf.
We have a trade to announce. The Atlanta Hawks trade the draft rights to Derek Queen, the 13th pick, to the New Orleans Pelicans.
They just now announced the Derek Queen trade on the
23rd pick,
on the stream.
2026 first-round pick. And with the 27th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Danny Wolf.
Danny Wolf. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I was just talking about it. Like, Danny Wolf makes a ton of sense based off of how they drafted today. I mean, I don't hate the fit. I I don't think it's unrealistic for them to like have games where they start all 4 of their draft picks together, and like there will be a serious feel for the game on the floor. I don't know if they'll play any type of defense, as my desktop just went out. So that's just super wonderful.
I can see you, and I'm guessing you still have power.
Well, no, my desktop that I was watching the stream on, Finn, not the one I'm streaming from, thankfully. I have no idea what this is about. So we might have to have you just unmute when the draft comes on. But yeah, again here, like
I'll do just that.
yeah, that's probably what has to end up happening here. Up now, let's see, my memory is good. This should be Boston up now, right?
Yeah, it is.
It says Boston, Phoenix, and Clippers.
Boston, Phoenix, and not Joan, which I'm guessing is the Clippers.
What? Not Joe.
Not shown.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
not even the list of picks that's shown right now.
yeah, okay.
But I have not seen the Clippers take a pick so far, and I do believe they own theirs.
They do not own theirs. OKC owned theirs. And they owned OKC's. It was a swap. But let me think. What was I just about to say? Okay, so Boston up here. I think the easy pick is Kalkbrenner. Like Boston is going to have like very little center depth this next season because they're likely going to lose Al Horford or Luke Cornett in free agency. They just traded Porzingis. They'll have Neemias Queta still there, but I think he's like a backup / third big. So just go ahead and get somebody else in there. I think Kalkbrenner's NBA ready. He's 21st on my board. I think he makes a ton of sense for them. If not, Finn, guess who might? I think a Duthero makes a ton of sense too. You spend a year trying to develop his shot, and that could make a ton of sense. Because I think he's going to need a year or two to figure out the shot before he's like a real NBA rotational piece. But I think when he does, he's like kind of awesome. Is the pick in?
Yes.
So the pick is in. Don't unmute until you see Adam.
They're currently interviewing Danny Wolf.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think Penda could also make sense too. Yeah, Penda could make sense to get drafted here. But I feel like Kalkbrenner makes way too much sense for them to not take Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Then we'll only have one left on the board.
Yeah. The top 21 we went over today. If only one of those is if all 21 get drafted today, then I would feel pretty good about how I evaluated them. Even if like Jace and Yakashonis dropped a little bit more than I anticipated. I knew somebody would really like Will Riley, and I did have Will Riley at 26. Rasheer Fleming potentially falling is kind of surprising to me. He could also be in play for Boston. He's an older wing player. I mean, I think there's a lot of great picks here for Boston to get a good piece.
Guess whose bold ass is on the stage? They took Hugo Gonzalez.
All right, go ahead, give it the mute. All right, so Hugo Gonzalez makes sense to me, I guess. He was going to need time to develop. I had him at 32, so I mean, it's not that far off my board. Really physical. Shot, you don't know yet. Handle, you don't know yet. You don't know if he's actually good defensively or if he just has a high motor. Either way, I would bet on a guy with a high motor and like plus physical tools to eventually be like a decent defender. So I don't hate it. He does fit the mold where he's going to take a year to develop, but I don't know. I would have taken Kalkbrenner, and part of that is me wanting them to take Kalkbrenner because it would fulfill my 21 players getting taken. Duke Thero is still the best player available for me. Up now is Charlotte. Duke Thero makes some sense to them. They don't have any type of defensive players in their starting lineup. So yeah, fuck it. Take a Duke Thero. Or take Kalkbrenner because you don't have a center. I'm just pitching my own guys right now. It feels like, but yeah, I mean, I think there is some point to taking Rasheer Fleming.
He's a good shooter. He can defend. He can play the 4. He's plus sized. Although I do think since they've already taken Khan, like I have no idea what to do about Charlotte's team. Like you need one of Khan or Brandon Miller to guard the other team's best player, unless you're trading LaMelo Ball, and then like you need a two-way point guard. I just don't know what they're building. I don't know. That would make some sense. Noah Penda can like actually take some matchup versatility. So like taking Noah Penda isn't crazy. But then they also have Miles Bridges as their starting 4, and then they took Tejon Salon last year, even though I don't think that should change who you pick here. If you think he's the best player available, you do it. Edu Thero like also could technically play small ball with Brandon Miller at the 4 and Edu Thero out there. Is the pick in, Finn?
It is not.
All right.
They
Doesn't
have
make sense to me.
15 seconds left.
A minute and 15?
2 minutes and 10 seconds.
All right. Every player taken so far, though, has been in my top 33. So that's good. Makes me not feel stupid about it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have first round grade players that like are in the second round because I have currently with first round grade players I have Adu Thero, Kalkbrenner, Cam Jones, Noah Penda, and Rasheed Fleming, who are still available. All of my fringe first, late second guys have been taken. So there's that, and then my early second round choices, Hugo Gonzalez and Hansen Yang were those guys, and they've been taken. So
Taking your time. It is within 1 minute.
the pick is in.
No, it's within 1 minute.
Okay.
The odds of you getting 8 hours of sleep tonight are not in your favor.
They're basically cooked. Unless the draft will wrap up and I will fall asleep in 6 minutes. I mean, there are other people who like literally just have no chance to watch the draft because they have to fucking sleep, which I think sucks. Like I feel like the draft should be a national holiday. You know,
They should just make the draft not start at 8 p.m.
I kind of agree, but like I feel like it should start at 6. People get off work, like I don't know. And like if your local team has the first overall pick, I think generally your works will know, you know, if you work at like a business place, then you're usually off at that time anyway. And then if you work at fast food or somewhere where you're not going to get out of that and you work night shifts, I don't know. Is Adam on the clock or on the podium?
No.
That pick's in though, right?
It's in, and we're staring at a commercial break for the UFC.
Oh gosh, he'll probably be right on that stage as soon as the picks, as soon as the commercial's over.
That's what I have my hand on right now.
The unmute button, yeah. Jeez, I can't say this has gone like a completely surprising to me way. I think the one surprise or the two surprises for me, I guess, were Jagor Demon at 8 and Hansen Yang at 16. And Hansen Yang is like a complete surprise for me. And then Jagor Demon like was in the realm of possibility for me, but it just wasn't something that I would have done. I guess Murray Boyle's going 9. I didn't think was a possibility, but I'm not that surprised by it. I think he was good enough to go.
This badass is on the save.
Wow. So Charlotte, just go ahead and mute it. So Charlotte takes Con and then McNeely, unless they're trading this. Which let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what Sacramento traded for 24. Yeah, so Charlotte took Liam McNeely, which whatever, I guess. I don't know. I didn't have a first round grade on him, but he should be able to shoot, and he is tall. So he will probably be a guy who plays on an NBA team, but maybe isn't that impactful of a player. But yeah, Liam McNeely, I don't think it's crazy to take him in the first round. Again, I would have taken Kalkbrenner if I were them. I don't know. Maybe there's a free agent target that I'm just not seeing for them to be their center. But I just also McNeely's not going to start for you. And um even if he did, your defense is just going to be terrible. I don't know what Charlotte's building over there. I don't know. All right, Finn. So one of my top 21 is not going to be taken for sure. The Clippers are on the clock. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner just makes way too much sense for them. They've had so much success with Zubac as a post scorer, and I feel like they are a team that can unlock Kalkbrenner's post scoring. I think he's a good defender, or a good shot blocker at least. You can have your concerns about him moving his feet. If I wasn't taking him, Cam Jones makes some sense as a backup guard. A Duthero for them. I don't know if I like a Duthero for the Clippers because I made a point in the mock draft that they need two-way players. So not I don't know if a Duthero is a two-way player right away. So yeah, there's that. Penda, I don't think you can go wrong taking Noah Penda if you're any team because he's good defensively and has a good feel for the game. I would love for them to take a Duthero so I can say all of my top 20 prospects were taken on day one. But Jesus, if a Duthero, Jesus, if he falls to the second round, that is just such a steal in my opinion. All right. Okay, so the official pick or trade is Nick Clifford for the Kings. Wait, no. The Spurs 2027 unprotected or protected first round pick 1 through 15. So part of the Fox trade was just flipped for Nick Clifford. I guess that makes sense. If you're OKC, you push it a little bit further down the line. Yeah. Makes sense to me, I guess. I don't know. I really like Nick Clifford, but they kind of don't have spots to play players. And I don't know if they're going to want to shake up any of their roster after winning the chip. So, Finn, just let me know when that picks in. Let me know when Adam's bald head is on that stage.
will be clicking the unmute button for the final time when his ball ass finally gets on that stage. The pick is in.
Pick is in. How much time are they saying? Jeez. You need a shower too, Finn? Oh yeah. Maybe the line needs to be like 7.5 hours or like 7 hours of sleep. Or maybe like 6 hours of sleep. I don't know.
Adam's bald ass is not on the stage yet.
I'm assuming a commercial's on right now.
Nope.
Oh Jesus.
Some
You
big
love
black guy.
Finn. God damn it. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened with this desktop. I don't usually
I
use
want to
this.
say it's Shaq, but I know that's not Shaq.
I'll turn to whatever.
They only have
Alright.
one on the pen.
What?
They only have one on the pen.
One pick left. We're gonna come in at just over like 3.5 hours, I think. Let's see. I mean, no, we're just over 3.5 hours because it actually started at 8 o'clock.
So, will this be the longest video in the Wells podcast? At this point.
Yes, by like a lot. I hear the rain coming and I'm getting pissed off because like please don't black out. I mean, if it blacks out at the last pick, like it is what it is. I can talk about the Clippers taking Yannick Nudenhauser later if they do that, but I think that would be a bad pick with Kalkbrenner on the board.
Could you please just get your ass on the fucking stage? I really feel like we've spent more time waiting on Adam Silver to get his ass on the stage. We have the teams to make the picks.
Well, yeah, but ESPN probably has it to where Adam has to wait the whole 5 minutes.
He's walking on.
With the 30th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the LA Clippers select Yannick Niederhauser from Brasil, Switzerland, and Penn State.
Finn, I literally said it like a minute before the pick. Oh my fucking god, Finn. All right, well, I'll say this. I did bring it up during the mock draft that Yannick Niederhauser could make sense for them because he's athletic and could be a lob threat on the offensive end. I don't like it as much. Like, I mean, it does make sense for your backup big typically to be like a run, jump, and dunk guy rather than like a post up first guy like Kalkbrenner.
Yeah,
But
I don't like taking a backup big with my first round pick.
well, that's what Kalkbrenner would have been. So, I mean, regardless here, you were probably taking a day one bench player. But I think Yannick Nudenhauser like is going to be like an average backup big. Like that is just what he's going to be. I don't know. I would have been fine taking him if you traded down to like what we did in the mock draft was trade down from 30 to 37 and Detroit took Liam McNeely. I know Liam McNeely wasn't on the board at this point, but like yeah, you could have done that. Just I guess I got to give some final thoughts on players that are still on the board. Obviously, Adu Thiero is big for me because I have him at 20, and I think he is a steal. I thought there was no way he was falling out the first round, but apparently he will be. Same thing with Kalkbrenner. I had him at 21. I understand him falling a little bit more because just being generally concerned about his game translating to the next level, but I just think he'll stick and be a good player. Cam Jones, guard from Marquette. You know, I had him at 23. I could have seen Cam Jones going in the late first. Obviously, he didn't do that. There weren't too many guard needy teams. Atlanta, but then they took Asa Newell. That was a strange pick to me. And then Orlando took Jace, who I had at 16. So Guards just generally fell at the back half of the draft. And then Noah Penda, I think is really good. I think he should go in the first couple picks of the second round. I don't know who's selecting at the top. I know Minnesota has 31 and Boston and Charlotte have a couple picks immediately. So hey, maybe Boston takes Kalkbrenner at like 33 or whatever. And then Rasheer Fleming, tall wing, shoots the ball pretty well. He's my 25 player. Cam Jones, Penda, and Fleming were 23 through 25. All of my 26 through 33 were taken. Sion James, Javon Small, interesting players. Yeah, just whoever gets a Duke Thero tomorrow and Ryan Kalkbrenner tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure maybe they'll both beat Boston. Regardless, I think is an absolute steal. So, Finn, I don't know. Do you have Jans? Oh, do you have anything to say, Finn?
Nope.
Jeez. Well,
Pretty successful. You had 19 out of your 21 taken.
yeah. And like I wasn't even predicting the guys who I thought would go. I just was saying like I think these guys are the best guys in the draft. So, only surprise was Hansen Yang, really. Jagor Demon I expected to go in the first round. I'm not that high on him, but on
taken 8th was kind of surprising to me.
what?
The guy that got taken 8th was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, like
that he got taken where he got taken.
Yeah, I expected him to like probably be like picked like with Washington or Brooklyn's second pick, and he went 8th overall as Brooklyn's first pick. But I don't, I don't think it's too crazy. In our mock draft, we took him 10th because we thought the fit would made a lot of sense with Phoenix. But oh well, the Phoenix double center thing kind of was weird because you got Mark Williams in a trade, and then you drafted Common Malawach, which by the way at 10 is great value, but I don't know. You gave up, you barely had any assets in the first place, and then you traded them for Mark Williams, who plays the same position as the guy you just took, 10th overall. I don't necessarily like that process, but oh well, I mean, you still did need a center, but like Nick Richards is one of your only like affordable role players. So I don't know. That's kind of brain wrenching, but it's pretty on brand for how the Suns have operated the past couple of years. So
That's pretty unfair. There's a reason they're the second apron and they sucked.
yeah, that basically does it for all the thoughts I have. Winners, shout out to the Grizzlies for getting Cedric Coward. I think that's a great pick for them. Where did Carter Bryant? Carter Bryant went to San Antonio. Seamless fit, I think. And Essengue, I think, will be potentially Bazelis 2.0 with Monas Bazelis in Chicago. So I think those are great mid lottery picks. And then New Orleans, shout out to New Orleans for being aggressive and getting two guys who like could be like that basically encapsulates what we did in our mock draft where we had Utah trade up for Fears at 11, with like getting two guys who they probably had towards the top of their board. I really did think Utah really loved Fears, and I thought they were going to take him at 5, but they ended up sticking with Ace. Ace didn't actually fall that much. Maybe Ace wanted to go to Utah the whole time, and he really just didn't want to go to the Sixers or the Hornets. I wouldn't have wanted to go to either of those teams in either. I still don't know what the Hornets are. What are the Hornets cooking? I have no idea. And then Brooklyn just takes a ton of passers. So yeah, Finn, we'll probably end it there.
Sounds good.